This is the first episode of Division Template Reviews. So a lot of people ask me, is this a good template? Is this a good template? Is this a good template? Today, we will find out the answer. We will find out the answer. Is this a good template? So I will do my absolute best to critique these divisions, say whether they meet some kind of format I think would be useful on the battlefield, a lot of critiques and pros and the cons, all the good stuff. First of all, we have the Rocket Artillery Division. So first of all, the issue with this division is there's way too many rockets, okay? It does some absolutely awesome firepower, but it has an organization of 20, meaning this division will not fight for very long until it stops or until it breaks. So this division is horrendously bad at actual fighting for long durations. Has firepower, it can move quick, which is great, but man, it could not fight for very long. You want to aim for a minimum of 30 organization for a mobile division, and this unfortunately has way too little org. Let's go for some of the support companies. So motorized recon, that's pretty good. It adds breakthrough, so that was nice. Rocket support, so I was good for adding soft attack. Same for the artillery. So if you want to double stack the rockets for extra soft attack, it's pretty good. Seems pointless to me though, because this is a division that's based on soft attack. So it's just you're adding an extra 15, extra 20, extra 30 soft attack on top of 400. I don't know. It doesn't seem like worth it. Logistics essential. This division is very supply heavy. To be honest with you, I'd go without that. Go without that. Signal companies, unfortunately, they've just not been proven to be very effective in trial runs and tests and whatnot. So I wouldn't go for that. If you're really pushing the extra mile and you've got spare rockets and artillery, go for it. But I would get rid of those too. I'll get rid of the signals. Logistics is a tick. Recon, that'll probably be a tick as well. The only one here that I think is really, really worth, you can't go without, is logistics. The rest of it is not so much. This division is unfortunately a thumbs down because unfortunately the organization is way too low. And I think it's a little bit over bloated with support companies. If this was like 3 divisions you were sending, for instance, as like to support a war abroad that you're not at war with, I guess this would be totally okay, I suppose. But the problem is if this pushes into any terrain that's not effective, such as mountains, such as over a big river, jungles, it's just not going to be able to break because it'll fight for 2 seconds and it'll stop. This division, unfortunately, no. Mountain General, the meme lord himself, has posted a single engineer. Welcome to the memes. Welcome to this new video. We now have a division with 53 organization. It has quite a lot of artillery added on as well, and it has a medium tank flame support. 100% support that. Support artillery is okay, I suppose. Engineers, so I guess this is more of a defensive division. He doesn't know what it wants to be. Is it defensive? Is it offensive? I think this is the classic, this division does everything. Everyone wants that division. Everyone wants the classic 7-2 all over again. The combat worth is great. The engineer, I suppose, is okay for defensive. And the logistics is probably a little bit overkill because this division doesn't have a lot of supply anyway. I would get rid of the logistics. And if you want a division that does everything, I suppose these ones are pretty good. Maybe rockets add on as well for extra soft attack. Overall, it's okay. I would give this a, it's all right. Next one, we have Mechanized with medium tanks. 42 combat width. It's very girthy. It has recon light tank. It's always good for extra stats. It has light tank flame companies, which is also good for stats as well. Definitely on the offensive. Engineers, I really don't understand why you would add engineers on this. The only benefit you get from engineers on this kind of division is you get extra movement speed over rivers, which I first personally think is not really that worth. And also, I'm not a big fan of signals too, so I'd get rid of that. But for the other 3, they are pretty swell. Mechanized is really good for extra girth and extra firepower. The one thing I have spotted though, even though it's very, very small, this division only has 26 organization. Unfortunately, once again, the rule is 35 org is the minimum you want to go. Otherwise, you will have trouble breaking over more difficult terrain types. When you are breaking a terrain, for instance, like urban or mountains, you need to be fighting for a longer period of time because the stats aren't as good. And once again, this division is very supply heavy based on those factors. Org too low, supply very high. Unfortunately, that's a thumbs down from me. This division, unfortunately, is very expensive and does not do enough. We have a support artillery motorized. I support this combination because it's very cheap. With this, you get the ability to add lots of firepower and you get lots of speed. And for the most part, if you are a minor nation such as Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, all the other small minor powers, this is an excuse to have a motorized fast division that doesn't break the bank. 42 combat width is fantastic for stats. Engineers is a very strange choice. Engineers is only going to give you extra speed over rivers, and defensive, you're not going to be using this division for defense, so why do you need this as engineers? I don't know. The engineers is a no for me here. Support artillery, once again, I don't really feel like this is worth it either. At the end of the day, this division has loads and loads of soft attack. This is adding a tiny little bit extra soft attack. What's the point of that? For the most part, I'd give this a thumbs up, but I would get rid of the support companies. Calls this one the new meta. It has got CAS on it. I won't lie to you though, this is actually the meta. 10 width infantry with lots of CAS supporting it. I mean, it is a meme, it is a joke, but the truth is that really works. All right, next tank. We have a tank tank design here. So he's gone very heavy on the armor. He's got an auto loader. These are very late game techs to add on. Stabilizer as well. Man, this is really late game. Radio 3, 3-man turret. It's got a high velocity cannon on it. It's got for cast armor. The cost of this tank is absolutely ridiculous. There are so many little tweaks you can make to this tank to make it way more cost effective. First of all, you drop the engine down to 9, so therefore it doesn't require any chromium. Secondly, if you want to make it cheaper, get rid of the tungsten cost and the high production value, you can change from the high velocity gun to something like the improved auto cannon, which is on the AA path. It's cost effective for soft attack, it's a lot cheaper, and it doesn't require tungsten, so that's 2 cheaper things you can do. Cast armor is just not something you ever do unless you are ridiculously expensive. You're playing USA, you're late game, and you've got way too many military factories, you don't know what to spend to them. That's the only time cast armor works. To be honest with you, this tank works. It works. It's effective. It'll work in most combat situations. The only problem with it, it's just mega expensive. And the only things I would tweak is just to make the cost go down a little bit, just by a tiny little bit. But once again, if you're late game and money is no object, make this tank. But unfortunately, I'm kind of giving it a thumbs down. At the end of the day, this is hardcore. When you make this tank, I would call this tank the I've already won tank. At the end of the day, you've already won, so what's the point? We have the catch-all tank division. 45 width, so it's probably the maximum width you're ever going to get away with without being too big. The supply cost is pretty high, but to be honest with you, it's not actually that high based on this division size, so the logistics is definitely worth it. Armored recon, meh. From the testing, armored car recon isn't really that great, so there's not much point. Engineers, there's no point in engineers for this division. Once again, if it's super late game and you have no issues with production because you're so far ahead, I suppose engineers is okay. But the truth is, this does not really benefit much because this is an offensive tank, so why would you have engineers on? So get rid of the recon. I'd get rid of the engineer. Logistics is definitely yes. Maintenance is a really good one too. I like the fact you can steal equipment, but once again, this tank division is so late game. What equipment would you steal that you would actually use? Probably not a lot, so I'll probably get rid of that too. And signals are definitely overrated. Get rid of that too. The only thing on here I would keep is the logistics. For the most part, I'll give this a middle ground. I like how big the division is. I like the fact you've got some SPG and some AA in here. The AA is very important. SPG not so much because your breakthrough is so high, you don't even need the soft attack. So the SPG could be removed. The AA is definitely a thumbs up. The Mechanized is really good for armor rating because the armor on this is ridiculously high. Yeah, once again, I'm giving this a middle ground. For the most part, this tank does not need SPGs and doesn't need a lot of these supports. And it's a little bit overkill when it comes down to the amount of breakthrough this division actually has. And doesn't really need that much soft attack either. So yeah, middle ground for that one. From testing, recon has only been really that effective on the defensive for countering tactics. And on the offensive, you don't really need recon. It is what it is. Light tank recon, on the other hand, though, is very effective because you can manipulate the light tank, put really awesome stats on it. The next one, we have another tank here with a side machine gun, radio 2, 2-man turret, high velocity shot. We have welded armor, diesel engine, 6 speed. He's prioritized this very heavily towards speed. It's an okay choice, I suppose, but you've only ended up with 6.8 kilometers per hour. I feel a bit mixed about this. I don't know. I think this tank's a little bit overly expensive for what it is. I guess maybe the joke with this is he's actually designed an actual proper Cromwell, and I'm critiquing an actual British tank. That would actually be really funny. Has anyone spotted the biggest thing wrong with this? The reliability is 130%. There's no point going over 100% reliability. I would probably say for this kind of tank, if you've got like 500 of them in one division, like a 45 width, the highest reliability, the lowest reliability you want to go for is like 95, and there's no point going over 100, so there's absolutely no point. I would be more favorable for extra soft attack for this division and more armor for extra breakthrough. So it's okay. I suppose this tank works quite well at fighting other tanks, I suppose. But at the end of the day, I want to be encircling, and I want to be doing that with a good tank. So, and also the price of it's a bit high as well. What do we have here? We have the AA motorized division. I don't know what this tank's meant to do. I don't know what the purpose of it is. I suppose in that one niche scenario that the AI or a player has like 5,000 casts and he's stacking them in one air zone, he'd use this to push forward to shred through their cast. That's the only scenario that I can think this would be worthwhile. When you tend to go over 50 air attack, the AI stops putting up its planes, or it puts up significantly less planes, so it doesn't even work effectively for you because you don't even need the extra air attacks. All goes to waste. I don't know what the point of this division is. The organization is just okay on the threshold. I don't get this tank. I don't know where it works. At the end of the day, if you want this tank to break through, you're going to need good breakthrough and good soft attack to push through infantry lines. All this tank has is lots of AA, so you're just going to be fighting air with it. I don't really see the point of it. I don't see the point, and it's very expensive as well. I suppose what you could do with this is use it defensively, but why would you need motorized on a defensive division? I don't know. And the armor, it's got a lot of armor. That's a very highly armored division to say this is just AA. Maybe you'd use this to break through against infantry. Do you know what? Actually, now I think about it, more I'm thinking about it, this actually would work really effectively against infantry. Maybe it's a little bit low on the breakthrough side, but everything else is pretty good. Once again, engineers. Is it attacking? Is it defending? The light tank, recon. Oh, I approve of that. And support attack. Guess you want an extra soft attack? Maybe add recon on there. Maybe you would add rocket artillery on there. Support attack, give it more soft attack. Oh, I'm in the middle with this one. I feel like at first it was a thumbs down, but now it's a thumbs in the middle. Next tank. What we got? We have the anti-air tank. Welded armor. It's got quite a decent production cost. Hardness is taking a hit. It's got very, very, very high armor. And everything else is just kind of okay, I suppose. You could go all the way to 9 for armor here and it'd be okay. Kind of a weird speed too, 5.5 kilometers per hour. It's all right, I suppose. The beauty of AA at the minute, AA tanks, is you get to put lots of armor and breakthrough on them, and they're still pretty effective. So maybe the truth is that this division is actually not that bad when it comes out of breaking through because its armor and breakthrough is so high. Maybe something have to be tested on that one. Maybe I'll be turned around on that one. Who knows? Next up, we have some rockets and some Amphibious Mechanized. Interesting. 44 combat weight. That's a very girthy division. Supply cost is very high. Logistics, heavy tank support. Interesting. 26 armor. So for the most part, versus AI, this will be very, very effective. Production cost is insane though. I like the extra bit of support AA, very worthwhile. Logistics is important. I like the flame, light on as well. Once again, I don't understand why there's engineers on here. Engineers could be used for the movement speed over rivers or the amphibious invasion attack. So, but why would you naval invade? I suppose you would naval invade, I suppose, because it's got amphibious mechanized, I suppose, as well. I don't know. I'm coming around on this one, guys. I suppose if this is like you are Japan or USA and you do an amphibious invasion on island hopping, this division would break through every single time. It really would. I don't know. I guess I'm coming around to this vision. But this division, unfortunately, is a bit of a one-trick pony. For island hopping around the Pacific, yeah, I support this. Landing in Sicily, yeah, I support this. Fighting an open land, though, man, this is a very expensive tank for what it does. Okay, I'm okay with it. In the middle. We have a Soviet tank here. Close support gun, I think. 3-man turret, radio, wet ammunition storage, sloped armor, machine gun sidearm, got extra speed, welded armor, blah, blah, blah. Need to take off 1 engine point here, because then we'd have to pay an extra chromium. Speed is 9.7 kilometers per hour, 92 reliability, 2 good points. I would focus a little bit more on the armor, but the soft attack on this division is very, very low. So what kind of gun is this? I'm not really sure what this division does well. Is this a heavy cannon? No, it's a light tank though. It's a small cannon level 2. So it has decent piercing, but these stats here for soft and hard attack are a little bit low. The armor's okay, the breakthrough's okay. I don't know, man. I think this vehicle is very expensive for what it is. The only thing I would change is take 1 point off the engine. And I don't think sloped armor is that effective on light tanks, to be totally honest with you. If you have this on as a support, it'd be a very effective tank, but for actual having battalions of this in an army, I don't think it'd be that great. So I'd probably take off the side machine gun here. I'd drop a point off engine, and still very expensive. Oh, I'm a thumbs down on this one, guys. This is a very expensive light tank. You probably would have better off with a medium on that one. Next one is a high velocity gun. So this is an anti-tank tank. 3-man gun, radio, sloped armor, wet armor, machine gun. Well, I give this one a thumbs up. I take 1 point off engine. I won't be too bothered about the machine gun on the side, but this is now a medium tank, and it's got really good stats. So for the most part, I'd approve of this. You could add on an extra 4 points of armor too, so you don't have to spend the extra chromium. And you could get rid of the high velocity and replace it with something else, but I guess he wants a tank to fight other tanks, so that's what it is. What we got here, we've got a very artillery heavy division. Logistics is good. I love these 2 supports, some for extra soft attack, defensive and offensive, but then again, you could be using this completely for defensive purposes. 25 combo width is decent. Actually, for the most part, this is actually a really good division. And once again, it's one of those divisions that basically does a bit of everything. So I don't know, I approve of this division. If you wanted to make an army that consists completely of these, it'd be expensive, but man, it would be good on the offensive and on the defensive, so that's pretty cool. Same again, he's made another catch-all division here. This is a big division that does a bit of everything. I guess I support this division, but the honest truth is if you prioritize the attack division, it would do better than this, and if you prioritize a defensive division, it would be better at defensive this. But this is a division that's like a catch-all that tries to do everything, which is okay, I suppose, but I guess if you want a division that does everything, here it is, really. The only thing I would suggest with this division that would be a bit different is just try and reduce the cost. Maybe take off the support artillery, remove the engineer, remove the signal companies, and the support AA, you need that, and the light tank, I suppose it bumps the stats up. So the only thing against this is that you're adding so much support on, you're making the division cost go a lot higher. And if you're making a lot of those divisions and filling out your front line with them, it will be very, 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 very expensive. All right, what we got here? So we have a very interesting combination of tanks here. If you've got a bunch of divisions left over that you're not using, such as light tanks, you can convert them into SPGs or AAs, which I approve of this. Extra light tanks are just lying around that you're not using, you can add them on, that's pretty good. I also support the light tank recon too for extra stats. I don't understand the engineer though. Once again, is this an attacking division or defending division? I don't really know. And support artillery, I don't understand that either. The biggest problem with this tank is that it has 18 organization. This tank will fight for 2 seconds and then run out of org and break. This is an awful template. I do not use this. It needs more org, and he doesn't know what it wants to be. Is it attacking? Is it defending? I actually don't know. And the supply usage is quite high at 2.9 as well. The tank does everything really wrong. Unfortunately, this is a no. If you wanted to fix this one, you will need more organization, make the tank bigger by adding more infantry or motorized infantry on. You need logistics on this as well. And for everything else, it's pretty much okay. The AI support, and I support the SPGs as well, because SPGs is always good to use up those light tanks on the side. So this is another catch-all division that does a bit of everything. 13 armor, which is pretty decent. Once again, it's a division that basically does everything. And the only problem with making too many of these divisions is they get a bit expensive. The only way you can make this division cheaper is take off some of the supports. I would probably try and take off maybe the engineer, and the engineer you replace it with logistics, but then you're making the division more expensive. You lose some, you win some, you know. 27 combat width is a good division template size to go with, though. It's really hard for me to judge this division because it's hard to see it and know what it represents. But I'd add logistics on this, and I wouldn't bother with the engineer as well. And I won't bother with the recon as well either, unless it's a recon light tank. Very heavy on the anti-tank here. 66 piercing, purely a defensive division. I guess if you're defending against tanks, I suppose this works, I suppose. The problem is this division is very, very expensive for what it does. So you make 2 of these, and they're just going to be for fighting other tanks, which I feel like is not really effective use of your money. But if you want to make this just to deny other people's tanks, I suppose you could. But I think that piercing could be a lot higher. I probably would give this a, I suppose in some situations it would be effective. But once again, I don't think the piercing's high enough. I don't think in all fairness you should ever have anti-tank on a division. This is a very classic one. How many we got here? I guess this kind of works to fill out your front line, I guess. It's very infantry heavy though. Maybe you go for something like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 widths. Not as big as that, but it's okay, I suppose. These are your divisions you hold the front line with. I think he's got a little bit too much artillery on here. I think the organization will be too low on this division. Maybe 3 battalions of artillery would be better, more cost effective as well. And finally, last but not least, we have another catch-all division. Basically a division that does everything. Very expensive. If you want to cut down on the cost on this one, you remove some of your supports. I'd start with the engineer. Maybe you take off the artillery. These ones add on quite a lot of extra stats as well. Depends if you prioritize it for attacking and defending. If it's for defending, you want the engineer. If it's for attacking, you need the flame. But then if you want to do everything, that's the problem. When it does everything, it kind of gets very expensive. Anyway, that was the first episode of Division Review. If you have a division that you would like me to review, pop it into my chat on my Discord, and I will do that for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a good day. Bye-bye. You love this video? Well, this one, you're going to love even more.